UFC Fight Night, I vs Calvillo. Wow. Aren't we blessed? We're having a lot of UFC cards happening back to back, and we're seeing some really amazing fights, and it's really made me appreciate a lot more fighting and the UFC. Look, there. We're not going to talk about any one specific fight. There are actually four fights that I'd like to highlight in this card because it was good. It was good fun. First is our boy Tyson Nam versus Zakuro Adashev. I might have just butchered that pronunciation, but look, it only went for 30 seconds. And, we've interviewed Tyson Nam in this channel before, so please, check out the interviews. I will link it there. He's a character, and, he's been fighting for a while, but here in this fight, we really saw his explosive power. He absorbed, it only lasted 30 seconds, like I said. He absorbed an inside kick by Zakura, and he followed it up with a straight right, and it was over. Tyson's got heat in his hands, and it was really, you could see an emotional Tyson Nam over there, because there's no doubt that there's a lot of pressure on these fighters. But look, we saw he's shouting power, and interestingly enough, he fought this in bantamweight. Let's bring him. Let's get him another fight. I think Jordan Espinoza kind of called him out after his win against Mark De La Rosa on the same card, and that should be a pretty interesting fight too. I definitely see big things in the future for Tyson Nam. Look, on to the next fight that was really interesting was Andre Fili and Charles Jourdain. Like, Andre Fili has been in the UFC for a while. He's a pretty imposing character with all these tattoos and stuff like that. Charles Jourdain, I believe this was his debut. No, actually, sorry, no, I'm wrong. It was his second fight in the UFC. Wow, this was an exciting fight. Like, they went for it, and Jourdain, I've never actually seen him fight, but was coming with these amazing, leg kicks, high, low on the chest, and really keeping Andre Fili at bay. I haven't watched a lot of fights by Andre Fili, but I tell you what, he's a real tough character. Like, he's a tough son of a gun. This fight had a lot of sort of scrambles and really good pieces of striking interchange. I think the interesting thing in this particular fight and what we see with a lot of sort of fighters is the best fighters, when they're actually absorbing exchanges from their counterparts, are able to bring it back straight away to not leave, especially if you don't finish the fight in the judges' minds that they're losing exchanges. And this is really what I saw by Andre Fili. Really tough son of a gun. Like, Charles Jourdain was really, I wouldn't say lighting him up, but he wasn't not lighting him up at the same time. It was really an impressive performance by both guys, and it actually went almost to a split. It went to a split decision, I believe, right? Really cool, really good fight. And the difference here was the takedowns. And I think we'll see this when we talk about I versus Calvillo rather. But the takedowns and being able to mix it up, especially if you're quite equal in the stand-up, is really important. And you'd say that Charles Jourdain actually has better sort of stand-up. Fili had really strong sort of strikes and was able to return sort of fire back and leave it in the judge's mind that, it wasn't a one-way affair. But the takedowns and strategically being able to chain takedowns at the end of the round, really as a visual impact towards a judge, really kind of lends itself very strongly there. So really impressive performance by Andre Fili. He trains at Team Alpha Male and is obviously made of the good stuff, because they've got some amazing fighters over there, with Song Yadong and a lot of guys. And obviously, with the history that team kind of has, Cody Garbrandt, rather, getting mind blanks. He's been there for a while. Let's give him someone good at featherweight, because it's really sort of heating up. The co-main event, Marvin Vettori versus Carl Robertson. A lot was being said about this. Obviously, a lot for Marvin Vettori's side. Man, there was some heat. There was some animosity. There was altercations in hotel lobbies. The Colby Covington special. So it was really interesting to see this fight. And Carl Robertson is a specimen in that particular regard. Vettori isn't no slouch either. Kind of met in the middle, having a couple of exchanges. I think Vettori didn't want to have anything to kind of do with it and decided to start taking him down. I think he had him in a chokehold for a while. And I think the real interesting thing of the night, exchange of the night that I saw throughout the whole card, was Carl Robertson. I think Vettori had him in a chokehold of sorts. he actually kicked off the fence to throw himself down. Really hyper athletic move if you think about it, and freaking dangerous at that, because you think about it, your neck is cranked and then you're pushing off it. I don't think I've ever quite seen that. It goes to show like the sport is kind of evolving. But Vettori took him down, and when Vettori took Carl Robertson down, he really had the upper hand in the exchanges and the scrambles. I don't think there was a lot of scrambling to kind of begin with, but what was really smart was to see Vettori really go at him, pepper Carl Robertson out, kind of flatten him out, and dig the chokeholds in, and it was over. It was over, she wrote. Carl Robertson, yeah, like there was a lot of animosity in that fight, and Marvin Vettori really came out trumps, and you could see he was freaking emotional. Like with his interview with Felder, he was saying that this fight obviously had been delayed for like 3 months, or sorry, 3 times. It was really interesting to see like the emotions sort of come out, and man, that middleweight division is stacked. I got a name for you. We got to test Vettori out, because he, for those who don't know, Vettori had a 5-round split decision against Israel Adesanya. And boy, isn't that fight looking good now when you see the amount of heat that Israel's been giving his other sort of opponents. The Gorilla, I'm losing his name, but I feel like Marvin Vettori, not the English Gorilla. I'm losing it. I'm absolutely losing it. But I think that there's a fight for Marvin Vettori, and he really needs a big name just to test where he kind of is at. And man, that welterweight division's got heat in his hands. Look, moving on to the main card, the main fight of the card, rather, Jessica Ai and Cythnia Calvillo. A lot was to be said here, and it was specifically because Jessica Ai kind of missed weight. Interestingly enough, I think she missed weight by a half a pound or a quarter pound, something along that line. But after the fight, Cynthia actually had really choice words to say to Jess. And the interesting thing is, Jessica has missed weight in the past. I think a previous fight she missed weight as well. So yeah, really not a good look there. And you can see a sizable difference actually into these two ladies. Obviously, Cynthia moving up a weight class as well. It really looked unfair. Interesting fight. It went the 5 rounds. The takeouts here is Jessica really stood. She was controlling the center of the octagon for the majority of the time. But what Cynthia was able to do, and able to do very well, is pepper her with activity, but with the takedowns. And again, if no one is winning in the striking, or you have equivalent striking capabilities from both fighters, really the ability to chain takedowns, and chain was the word for Cynthia, because again, there was a noticeable size differential. And obviously, if you think of the fact that if Jessica's was indeed 3 pounds heavier, which is what Cynthia was claiming, the strength component definitely went to Jessica. She did look like the physically bigger lady, but Cynthia was able to chain takedowns and bring her down and really control. I think there was one period where in 3 rounds she had 6 to 8 minutes of ground control, and that's the thing. These are the lasting impressions that kind of lead into a judge's mind, especially if you're not getting extensive damage achieved with the hands on the feet. And here's the thing, Jessica had her moments, and I think in the 4th, and there were certain rounds towards the latter end of that fight where she really was having success. She did have that success in the first sort of round, but she really wasn't ever able to let her hands go, whether that was just a mental thing, just not part of the game plan, or did the weight cut have something to do? Because it was a really extreme weight cut. I think there was a point in the weight cut where Jess said that she couldn't even stand. So it was that intense, right? Like, I guess that's where it kind of came up to. Wow, a lot of things in this card, and we're really excited because we're seeing a lot of really exciting fights. This card had this distinction and the honor of being, I think, the first card ever with 3 fights finished within a minute or something like that. It was crazy. And I think what you're seeing in this smaller octagon is a lot of heat being thrown. Fighters are forced to kind of engage, and it's making for some really exciting fights. So interestingly enough, like, do we move to this octagon size, when all this COVID stuff is over? Not sure, right? Well, guys, that's my synopsis of this fight night. Really exciting. Leave some comments below. like us, subscribe to the channel, share, and chat soon. Peace.